ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं. So this is told to Partha, to by whom? Narayanena Swayam. So Lord in the human form, that is Krishna, but in this meditation is addressed as Narayana Swayam, to make us aware that this is not an ordinary human being who is giving this knowledge. It is the God incarnate. And today we are going to discuss somewhat neglected aspect of Bhagavad Gita. Usually, many think that the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita there isn't much there. No, friends. First chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very important because it addresses a major problem that we all suffer in our life from, and that is the feeling of depression, despondency in the face of stiff challenges. When there are no challenges, we are fine. But the life is means challenges. If the progress has to happen, that means challenges. It is, otherwise there is no progress. If we do not take up the challenge, we miss the opportunity. Challenge is very important. Like Vittel, a tough exam coming up, then it is a challenge. But if you don't take the challenge, what happens? Then you remain in whatever grade are you. You don't go to the next grade. So that is how it is important that whenever the situation comes and we face a challenge, we must take it as an opportunity and squarely grab it. This first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is an introduction to that. It is a statement of all the that human situation in life. It is Arjuna is faced with that. So Arjuna is faced with uh, a life and death problem. There is the war. Hmm. War is, of course, you can say it is an allegory of our life. We are at war, as it were. To move forward, there is always a resistance that we have to break through. It is like a war. So there is the war that everybody has to go through. It may not be uh, very serious challenge as Arjuna was facing, but the example has to be very bright so that we can get something out of it, even for our day to day challenges. And war is the best allegory. You have to act fast, you have to have, act with determination, with thought behind it. It is not a rash action. Rash action results in, you see, uh, the disaster. It is the action should be a thoughtful action. It has to be, uh, of course, very much done quickly. See, a quick action is not same as a rash action. In fact, procrastination does not mean that the person is thoughtful. Mm. Procrastination doesn't mean thoughtfulness. Rashness also doesn't mean thoughtfulness. You have to be smart and quick. Use your understanding. Think about it. See all the pros and cons. Uh, Look at how the great people in such situations have taken up the challenge and then move forward. It is very important to have that taking a decisive step in life always without let me think about it later on maybe that is what dilly dallying. So uh, and this situation in war, they Arjuna tells Sri Krishna that you all are familiar with that situation, that seeing all that before you are at the point of taking up the war, you can say big things. Hey, I will do this and I will do that. Now it is the time of test. And now what happens? Now Arjuna is feeling that moment of indecisiveness, fear. But what will happen? It is a second thought, as it were, he starts giving it. And human beings are very intelligent. When they are seized with weakness, instead of admitting that it is weakness, they say, let me give it a second thought. It is not really there. Arjuna is not giving any second thought. He is just busy trying to find an honorable escape route. He has to do his duty, what he had come to the war for. Let us remember all that scenario. It was Arjuna when Sri Krishna was going to, have negotiations and stop the war. This Arjuna tells Krishna that those are not going to listen to you. They listen. They understand the language of my arrows only. Still, Sri Krishna says, no, we must exhaust all possibilities before we get into this all embracing war. Arjuna was not talking about peace at all. And now it is the time of war, time of action. Now Arjuna's feet started becoming shaky. It is now the point, the moment of action is right there. So now the honorable escape route is to be found out. So he tells Krishna, सेनयोरुभयोर् मध्ये रथं स्थापयमेच्युत. Uh, Take my chariot between the space between the two armies. Why? Why should it be taken there? So I will be able to see with whom I have to fight. Imagine the situation. Did Arjuna not know beforehand whom he was going to fight? Was it necessary to take the chariot in the middle of the two armies? No, he knew with whom he had to fight. So, what is the idea in take the chariot in the middle of the two armies? Buy some time. Ah, buy some time to construct all the arguments and everything. Very intelligent guy. We do all like that. It is, we may not be as intelligent as Arjuna is, but we make our attempt, buy some time. It is, that doesn't solve the problem. In fact, it festers further. The wound festers further. But we say, okay, uh, at least it is postponed to another 15 minutes before Krishna takes there. And now, what Krishna, when he says, see, Krishna is not offering any advice. Ah, he is wise to understand that advice should not be given unless sought earnestly. Otherwise, nobody listens to the advice given for free. It is there are the world is full of advisors, but unless you go seek the advice, it is that is why many times they the kids they do not pay heed to the advice of the parents, because it is not sought. Parents are all the morning, afternoon, evening, they giving the doses of uh, unsought advice. So it is they are doing it out of love and all that, but when it is not really sought, it doesn't make any dent. So Krishna is charioteer, only charioteer. You all are aware of that situation, how Krishna assumed the role of charioteer to this Arjuna. There were that situation, beautiful story that Duryodhana and Arjuna both went to seek the help of Krishna for the war on their side. Both were related to Krishna. So both thought they have a right to expect the help from Krishna. So Duryodhana went ahead first. Arjuna followed a little later. Duryodhana sat near the head of Krishna. There were two seats kept, as it were. Krishna was relaxing, sleeping. Ah, and one seat was near his head, another near his feet. So Duryodhana went and sat on the seat near the head. Arjuna sat near the seat near the feet. And in a few minutes or so, Krishna opens the eyes. Now, whom he will see first? He saw Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, what makes you come here? What's up? So now Arjuna was about to speak. Duryodhana immediately, hey, I came first. Oh, that makes the things complicated. But I saw him first. So I agree that you both have come, and I owe being relative to you both. I understand why you have come. So I will do one thing. Uh, I will divide myself into half. See, later in Bhagavad Gita, you will see the message of working in this spirit of detachment. What a detachment! Sri Krishna said that let me divide myself into half. On one side will be all my very powerful world conquering army. On this side, other side, I will be there alone, but I will not fight. I will not hold weapon in my hands. I will just dole out advice. Ah, now, come on, Arjuna, you are the younger one. Duryodhana is a little older to you, so you have the first chance. Seek whatever. Now, naturally, Duryodhana's heart was palpitating fast. It is if Arjuna is where is the it is no brainer. This is time of war. It is you need army. You need somebody who can fight here. Just empty advice. Who cares? So he was sure that Arjuna will ask, okay, I will take your army. We want you also, but now since you have divided like that, I will take the army. And uh, happy surprise was awaiting Duryodhana. Arjuna says, Krishna, we want you. But okay, I will give you the advice when sought. Hmm. Arjuna is the master, Krishna is only the charioteer. When you say, for example, get into the taxi and the driver takes you where you want to go, isn't it? You have to tell the, hey, hey, there, 74th Street. So the taxi goes there. It is not that the taxi that driver tells you where to go. It is. So Arjuna told that take the chariot there. Okay. Krishna did not say a word, brought the chariot there, and now Arjuna is seeing. And the words of Bhagavad Gita there are so appropriate, so descriptive of the how Arjuna was seeing. And now Arjuna is standing right in the middle, but the eyes are full of attachment. I and mine. So he did not see a single enemy to fight with there. Acharyan, Matulan, Bhratrun, Putran, Pautran, Sakhins Tatha. That he sees all his own people, my own. That is what brings attachment. And that is what keeps on tormenting and binding us, takes us away from our duties. That is the most important thing to remember there, that Arjuna is now seeing with the eyes of all these attachments. Hmm. That is, and so he doesn't see anybody to fight with. And so he started now giving advice to Krishna, a big advice, wonderful arguments. Now he had used the time he got to construct all these, the argument of how to run away from the job that we have to do. There is the duty that is calling, that is the sticking to the ideal that is calling him, but he wants to run away from that. He understands everything, so he gives that how peace and non-violence is the most important virtue. We have to practice non-violence. Those people don't understand our opponents, but we understand. At least we should follow that. Uh, and all the time, Arjuna's feet, the Bhagavad Gita described, were trembling. His, he was so depressed, despondent, and totally a nervous wreck. That is how Bhagavad Gita beautifully describes it, that he became a nervous wreck. So, this speaking about non-violence was not a real thing. It was, he himself was aware that this is stupidity. But uh, a front was to be put in to get finally one can run away from it. He was he presents this argument, and Krishna was watching that what he is telling and listening. He was not uttering a word, because no advice was sought. At the end of his long speech, hmm, it is a fairly long speech, comprising how many verses? Uh, It is this first chapter has 47 verses, up to 46th verse. It is about 20 verses that Arjuna is giving advice to whom? Krishna. Ah, in when the mind is overtaken by attachment, you forget whom you are talking to. It is he is from 29th verse. It is uh, 28th verse to 46th verse. Uh, 18 verses. He is giving this philosophy of what? Of cowardice. Philosophizing cowardice. That is what all this is. Not able to face the challenge. Hmm. So, this is our situation when we are faced with some momentous questions of life. Uh, we start trembling. What we know, what is the best thing to do, what is the right thing to do, but we are hesitating to act on it because of what? Attachment. This attachment is like this. Now you are on the staircase, Vittal. So going up. uh, if you are going up, you are on the third step, then you will be going to fourth step. But if you are very much attached to the third step, what will happen then if I go on the fourth step? You don't want to leave it. Oh, terrible. That is what happens. I get stuck. I get stuck and thus miss the progress that could ensue in our life. And this is a challenge, friends. And so Arjuna gave a great discourse to Krishna on non-violence. So much so that the last verse he says that even those people, I am not going to fight to them, I am dropping my weapons, and such person like me who has no weapons and he is one who is not fighting, those people, even if they kill me, that's fine with me. Imagine, And then, if that had been the statement of strength, what would have happened? Okay, yes, come on, friends. I am here. I am not going to fight with you. Come and kill me. Did Arjuna do like this? He fell down. This nervous wreck just falls in the chariot that sat there with uh, full of that depression and despondency, indecision, terrible grief has overtaken. Now that grief is certainly nobody wants grief, but then the grief of that level makes you also think that what is the way out. Arjuna understands this is not a desirable situation, so he, as it were, looks at Krishna to get support. He thought that Krishna will pat on his back. And this is all in this beautiful book. Uh, we were reading as we were driving here. This portion and wonderfully presented by Swami Ranganathanandaji. that how this, you know, all his valor, all his resoluteness, his common sense has all gone away. Uh, those who are doing counseling, work to depressed and all that, they should remember this. It is not, don't dole out false consolations, and that is not what Arjuna did. No, no, okay. You do one thing. Go to see Niagara Falls, stay there for 3 days, do some gambling, and then come back. And not that kind of counseling, you say. It is what he said to Arjuna, who was expecting a pat on back, having given such a powerful discourse on non-violence, with trembling feet and nervous mind. So, uh, Krishna tells, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam, that anarya jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. Very powerful words, most appropriate, most incisive and powerful words, going deep. Kutastva, where from did you get this kashmalam and this kind of despondency? Uh, your mind is just fogged. That is Kashmala. You are not able to even think properly. Arjuna might have thought, see, I have given such a thoughtful sermon. No, you are not able to even think. Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame. And then that too, it didn't come at the moment of leisure. It came when the time is to start action. The war was just beginning. Pravritti Shastra Sampate Dhanurudyamya Pandava. It is Pravritti Shastra Sampate. The weapons were going to strike on each other. Eh? Is it a time for idle philosophy, friends? No. At this very critical juncture, and your mind is fogged now, uh, an important point of life where you have to take charge in a decisive manner of the situation and move forward. But instead, what you are doing here? Eh? Sat helplessly in the chariot. And I am not going to fight. I am a non-violent person. Suddenly, non-violent person. You see, he was just a little while ago. He was, hey, I am going to kill these Kauravas. Uh, Now, suddenly, it is not uh, the thoughtfulness. It is, in fact, just terrible mental problem that has raped Arjuna. So he said, where from at this critical moment? Vishame samupasthitam. And what is this? Anarya jushtam. This doesn't befit noble people. Uh, what you are, just remember, you are a good person, a noble person. You are a thoughtful person. You are, a person known to take decisions and act on them. You are not one who procrastinates. Remember all those acts of valor that you had done. You are the champion warrior on this earth. And now what has happened to you? This doesn't befit you. This doesn't befit you. Ranganathanji here in the commentary says that we should always consider this when we are taking some cowardly step and ask, does this befit me? Does this become me as a man? Is there any manliness in it? It is there is no man woman. Women are more manly at times, you know. It is so manly means those who take charge of the situation instead of just being drifted in life according to whatever winds come. No, it is the one who conscientiously takes charge of the situation and decides which direction I have to go to and follows that. That is the spirit of manliness. In Sanskrit, it is called Purushakara. So, Purushakara means you say that, well, I am the spirit. The matter cannot make me go down. I cannot get bogged down by matter. I am the controller of the matter. And then the strength comes, you see. So, this is Krishna is making him aware of that. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushtam. And think where it will lead you to. Ah, Aswargyam, akirtikaram Arjuna. Your state will become worse. Aswargya means not a good state that you will go. Swargya is a good state, Swarga. Uh, but you will get to the worst situation now if you do like this. Aswargyam. And people will say, fire on you. And this fellow was saying big things before the war. And now they don't think that they are going to call you a non-violent person and very saintly person. And no, you are not a saintly person. Don't even try to show that. And they will. So people will be uh, saying fire upon you. They will not say that, hey, this is a wonderful saint in our midst. No. Mm. It is the point is uh, if the mountain doesn't come to Muhammad, the Muhammad has to go to the mountain. Ah, so, oh, there is something there. That is, I think, usually the sound stuff. Sorry, friends who are listening on the web, if you are there, there is, yeah, we will, the charge was finished. And this, hmm, yeah, she thought that it will be so from her powerful soul, everything will get covered. Eh, okay, anyway, she will get upset with me, let it be. Ah, okay. And then the next verse, he says that it is uh, to that Arjuna.